Jeez.
Hey, let's go to Skype right now. Let's bring in Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports, NFL writer, guy who used to cover the Broncos on a daily basis. Frank, welcome to the show on Skype.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Frank, tell me what you thought. Tell us what you thought of Peyton Manning's game last night. I'm not going to ask you to do the cliche thing and give him a grade, but give me a characterization of the game last night that you watched.
I thought it was gutsy, I guess, at the end of the day. For him to put everything that had gone wrong in the first 57 minutes of the game and actually put together that drive, thought that was pretty good. I think he'd give a gold star to Peyton Manning for that. Now, I mean, the question comes back to how is he throwing the ball? How's he fitting in this offense? And I think if you take the full game, you take the full 2 games, it's not working out right now. He's not throwing the ball well. Doesn't look like a comfortable fit in this offense. Look, when he completed that ball to Demaryius for 22 yards on their last drive, that was the longest play they've had all season. 22 yards. Where's the team that scored 606 2 years ago? I mean, it's just so much different watching these Broncos, watching Manning kind of be a game manager, a high-level one, but still, you know, it's great that they got the win. It's great that they got the win in week 1, but there's still a lot of questions, I think, with this offense.
Well, it was interesting, Frank, that you said for 57 minutes he didn't play good. That sounded like another quarterback that was here one time.
That's something common, yeah.
I mean, is he channeling Tim Tebow? Is that what this is all about now?
No.
Yeah. So what is the solution in your mind? Do they just junk the, quote, Gary Kubiak offense and say, Peyton, this is probably your last year. We don't know. Peyton, this is your last year. Just go ahead and do what you want to do. Is that what you do? No.
It's kind of hard to change at this point, though, right? I mean, you've practiced all training camp. You've done this and that. I think you have to incorporate some things. I think you do have to run more no-huddle. When did Peyton Manning get comfortable? When they were running the no-huddle last night in the last 3 minutes. Yeah. Do some more of that. Don't ask him to get out of his comfort zone anymore. I don't want to see him roll out anymore this season. Not once. It is just,
I said the same thing.
Do not do that. That is not what he does well. And I think one big part of this is, if they were running the ball like you expect a Gary Kubiak team to run the ball, I don't think we'd even be talking about this because it would be working how they wanted to. But when CJ's averaging, 2.3, 2.4? I mean, the line is terrible. The line can't protect Manning or block for the run. I don't know I don't know the solution because nothing's really working right now. They got to figure out something that works.
Yeah, I said earlier, and Les agreed with me, and you're looking at it as a distant observer rather than up close these days. But Evan Mathis, there's a reason why Philadelphia didn't want him back. Evan Mathis was like the second coming here in Colorado. He looks terrible. I mean, he's awful. He's just an awful player. I don't know whether it's going to be the case all year long, but you brought it up. The offensive line is not giving Peyton any help or the running backs any help, and I don't know what the solution is there because the guys backing him up aren't any good either.
That's the problem. Yeah, who do you turn to? I thought about that last night. I mean, I thought Gary's going to have to make some offensive line changes, and then I thought, well, who's he got? I mean, if the guys behind him can't start on this group, well, are they really the solution? Are you sticking somebody in who's just going to turn things around? I don't know. They got to get better somehow on the line, though. That's where it's got to start somehow, some way. The line has to get better.
Frank, don't you find it funny? They're 2-0. They've had two games where the defense was just spectacular, although they had a little bit of trouble stopping the run last night. And here we are talking about all the problems. I mean, are they still one of the best, if not the best teams in the league right now?
Absolutely. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl because I think about the Broncos in this way, the way you were talking about. The defense is elite. Other than Seattle, and even Seattle didn't look good week 1. Other than Seattle, though, they have a claim to be the best defense in football. And they're that good. Wade has been unbelievable for this defense. They got great rushers, great secondary, everything. And the offense needs to be good enough. But the offense hasn't really been good enough yet, really. But when you got a defense, the Broncos defense outscored the Baltimore offense 7-6 in week 1. I mean, if you're going to get that kind of a defense, you can go to the Super Bowl still. And I think people see that, and that's why everything's so critical, because everybody sees this team's good enough to make the Super Bowl. They really are. With a defense like that and offense like this, they're good enough, but they got to figure it out.
When you have what hit me about 2 o'clock in the morning, and Frank, you've had hundreds of trips like this where you're up after a night game and you don't get any sleep and you got to get on the 5 o'clock plane, so you got some time to think. And I'm thinking, 5 turnovers by a team that had a quarterback who had the record or had the streak in the NFL for lack of interceptions. Well, I'm not putting that right.
Yesterday, I predicted 2 interceptions, by the way.
But 5 turnovers, and the point is, those were, for the most part, unenforced errors. I mean, the Broncos are enforced errors. The Broncos knocked the ball out on the punt return. Brandon Marshall knocked the ball out of Jamal Charles' hands. Aqib Talib played that pass perfectly. He set up Alex Smith. Hey, I'm back here. I'm playing soft, and he had him set up and Alex Smith even said after the game, we had thrown that earlier. Well, hello, what do you expect? and the other one was a bounce off that Chris Harris got. But when you get 5 turnovers, you're going to win games somehow, I would guess. I mean, that's what that defense is doing. That's what Wade Phillips wanted coming in here was, I want this to be a turnover defense.
They're already a +5 in that category.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and that's why they're 2-0. I mean, look, if they get 4 turnovers last night, they probably don't win, right? I mean, you needed all 5, and hey, they got them. Like you said, they forced them, so good for them. But I think that it's just, people around Denver, the Denver fans, Denver players probably get sick of this whole, what's wrong with Manning? What's wrong with the offense? But again, the bar's been raised so high where John Fox gets fired after 4 division titles in a row that you do nitpick. This team does have to be perfect. The bar has been raised by John Elway and everybody else.
Oh, you spent years here. Denver's no different from every other place in the country of,
Right.
They don't like the quarterback. Half people don't like quarterback. I mean, imagine if you're in Kansas City today. You're going, Alex Smith, get rid of him, run him out. Yeah. I looked to see who the backup was last night, and I went, Alex Smith will never be replaced at quarterback. Chase Daniel.
That's right. I couldn't even think of it off the top of my head.
I couldn't figure it out, and I went, oh, Chase Daniel. He went to Missouri. That's why he's on the team. But it is, the question was asked last night, why do you think Peyton Manning gets so much grief? Well, John Elway. People forget John Elway got that kind of grief at the end of his career, particularly after the Jacksonville loss. And the difference between then and now is social media.
Yeah.
Well, plus Frank referred. Well, Frank, you referred to it earlier, and I said it earlier in the show. Peyton himself has raised the standard so high that if he's not Peyton Manning, the critics come out.
And it's not even critics. I think everybody understands what's happening. The man is 39 years old and has had how many neck surgeries? I mean, I don't. When I talk about Peyton Manning, when I write about Peyton Manning, when I tweet about Peyton, whatever it is, I don't blame him for any of this. This isn't his fault. Like with Alex Smith, when you rip him, you say, well, he's too conservative, he's this and that. Well, okay. With Peyton Manning, he's just, father time is catching up. Like, that's just the way it goes for all of us. And I don't think anybody holds it against Peyton Manning, but you have to talk about it because it's there. He's not throwing the ball well. There's not a lot of velocity on his throws. He does what he does, and it's impressive he does what he does with his limitations, but you have to talk about the limitations. It's just a part of what he is right now.
I said the other day that I was listening about a race car driver, and Dan Patrick asked Jeff Gordon, what's the first thing to go for race car drivers? And Jeff Gordon said, eyesight. Which makes a lot of sense, yeah. When your eyes kind of go a little bit.
I would have thought the right foot.
Yeah, if you're Jason Pierre-Paul, it might be the right hand.
The right hand.
Yeah, but I think people are missing this, and I wonder if you would agree or disagree that it's not Peyton's arm. He never had arm strength. It's his legs.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's probably more his legs. Maybe his back. I mean, stuff like that. Everything goes into throwing a pass. And you're right. He never had an enormous arm, even though he was a first pick. He did have a good arm. But yes, I mean, once the legs start to go, and he dealt the quad last year, I agree. I think it's a little bit of everything. And again, it's not personal towards Peyton Manning. And nobody's sitting here, I don't think, ripping Peyton Manning that he could do better. It's just these are the limitations he has now. Everybody kind of understands what's happening.
I still think he's going to have a very, very good year if they can get an offensive line, cobble something together.
He needs more protection. Yeah. Hey, Frank, Shutdown Corner. Tell everybody where they can find it.
It's at yahoo.com. You can find it pretty easy. Pretty much go to the NFL page. We're always on there talking about anything and everything, and even how Andy Reid completely screwed up that game last night. It's kind of unbelievable that we're sitting here talking about a Denver win, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's funny, it was not pointed out, that was almost as bad as that Giants play against the Eagles.
Joe Pisarcik.
And nobody's making references today. But they basically were trying to run out the clock. They were ready to go to overtime, and they gave it to Jamal
It was Larry
Charles.
Zonka.
Yeah, I mean,
It was Larry Zonka who was getting that fumble. That last year he spent with the Giants. But
Yeah.
yes, Andy Reid, either play for it or play for overtime. One of the two. Don't go in the middle because that's what's going to happen.
All right, Frank, we'll read you at Yahoo. Really appreciate your time, all right?
Yeah, anytime, guys.
All right, Frank
Thanks.
Schwab of Yahoo Sports. Go read him. Good stuff. And all of our guests are brought to you by Papa John's. They are the official sponsor of the Colorado Rockies. Now, the Rockies didn't play yesterday, so they didn't win. So you have to wait until their next win, and you can get 50% off your
Who are they
regular
playing?
menu price.
I'm not paying
online.
attention.
They're home against San Diego. They start their final home stand of the year.
Oh, you'll get a couple
Yeah.
of pizzas this
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah. Go to papajohns.com.